Welcome back to Operations Management. In this session, we're going to talk about process metrics. Metrics is just a fancier word for measurements. When we have a process, we need to understand whether that process is actually working. That's it. That's why we use process metrics. It's something that we measure about the process to ensure that it's going to meet the goals of the process competencies or the product attributes that we're trying to achieve. To determine what kind of metrics we want, we have to take into account the customer expectations, as well as the company's strategic goals. So when we're looking at the process competencies and the goals of the organization and what the product attributes are, we have to come up with ways of measuring things. Okay, let's take this a little bit further. We want to make sure that what we're measuring is not influenced by external factors. We want it to be solely attributable to the process itself. It's very important that we do that. So if we're looking at a certain process competency, such as cost, a metrics could be how much our inventory costs, or how much it costs to actually produce a unit, or maybe how often our equipment is down. These are things that would attribute to cost, and that is a process competency that we want to be aware of. For flow time, if we're trying to track how long it takes, then how long is something sitting in inventory? How long does it take to produce a unit? How long does it take for us to actually deliver a completed unit? If we're concerned about flexibility, one of the things we would be concerned about is how quickly we can change over our equipment from one product to another, or to allow for that customization to occur. And for quality, obviously, we don't want to have defective units, so we want to track how many things that are incorrectly made, maybe the number of complaints that we're getting from customers. If we're going to be looking at metrics from the strategy side, strategic goals, one of a strategic goal could be we need to increase our throughput. So let's keep track of how many units a day we can make. And again, how much downtime our equipment has. If we want to track our customer satisfaction, let's look at the number of complaints or the marks on a customer satisfaction survey. If we're also having a strategic goal that we want employee satisfaction, then we want to be concerned about employee turnover, and again on satisfaction surveys. So you can see that the metrics that I've listed, these samples, are directly related to either goals or competencies, and they're solely related to the process. They're not really influenced by anything outside. One thing I want to caution you about is price and market share in sales. These are not process metrics. A lot of people get confused about this. Price is not the same as the cost to manufacture. Price is actually one of the 4 P's of marketing. And as you understand in marketing, the price point that is set for a product is not necessarily directly related to how much it costs. It is also dependent upon what your competitors are doing, what the economy is doing, whether you're using it as a loss leader, or whether you're trying to set a certain image about the product. So price is not a process metric because you're not using price to evaluate a process. Same thing with market share and sales. They are dependent on many external variables. So be careful that you don't think about price, market share, and sales as process metrics. Once you've determined what your metrics are, you need to identify specific targets. That way you can say, we are making progress towards our goals. And if we're not making progress towards our goals, then we need to evaluate and determine why that's happening. It's not enough just to have metrics, but in order to ensure process success, you have to use those metrics. You need to monitor and evaluate your process by those metrics to make sure you're achieving your process success. Next time, we're going to be talking about specific ways that we can start looking at processes. This actually wraps up the basics. We've talked about what a basic process is. We looked at how it relates to strategy. We looked at metrics. We looked at the operational frontier and different architectures. The next step is looking at the process itself and really delving into it. See you then.